Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for another episode of Legacy on Fire. Yes, I know. Beat me later. It has been a month. It's been a very long time since we've been able to bring you the fire here on Legacy on Fire. July 20th, to be exact. A lot of training camps, a lot of running across the beltway for your boys. So it's nice to kind of be back and get chilled and get ready as we get ready for the NFL season. We got a lot to get into on this one. And first of all, we'd like to say hi to our Bowie TV viewers. This is the first time that we will be airing on Bowie Television. So thank you all for joining us. And we hope that you truly, truly, truly enjoy the show. But with all that being said, let me go ahead and introduce you to the illustrious panel. To my right, you got the man, the myth, and the legend. He is my right-hand man here on Legacy on Fire, Mr. James Brown. How you doing today, sir?
Doing good, man. You know, we're back from hiatus. We got a lot to get into. Shout out to the people out Bowie. You know, glad to have y'all on with us today. And man, I can't wait.
Awesome. And of course, right below us is our guy. He is the co-host of Commonwealth Sports Talk. Our guy, Mr. LaMonte Thomas. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Again, shout out to all the Bowie TV followers, man. We really appreciate it. Excited. You know, it's like we're out of training camp, man. Roster cuts have been done. We're ready to get this thing on.
It is now time to swing over to the fire starters and get these predictions going. The NFC South. Now, a division that James said a little bit earlier, you know, maybe a little bit of a tough time for the NFC South. So, you know, the question at hand is like, you know, where do you guys see the NFC South finishing now? I will also say no time today. I'm not putting no time clock up today. The guys know how to mind their business on this. So we're going to see how things go. James, I'll start with you first. NFC South predictions, where do you see this thing finishing up?
So, you know, as we were mentioning earlier, the NFC South, it is going to be one of those weaker up-and-coming divisions this year. I do believe that, you know, the division itself has a lot of great talent amongst the various teams on various sides of the ball. Some teams more offensive, some teams more defensive. So I think it'll make for some interesting matchups, both in that division and around the league. But me personally, the way I see things shaking out, I think the Atlanta Falcons do take the division somewhere between 9 to 10 wins. I don't really see more than that unless they get some breaks to go their way. I see the New Orleans Saints finishing second in the division. I think they'll probably have a lot of close calls. You know, the fact they just traded their kicker, Will Lutz, to Denver, I think that could, you know, that's probably going to take away a win or two because he was a clutch kicker for them. Yeah. And we've seen, you know, a lot of the games in the NFC South have come down to one-possession games. Having a great kicker that can win you some, having a bad one can lose you some. So we'll see if that hurts the Saints. I think the Carolina Panthers take third in division. Can see them hovering somewhere between 5 to 6 games. I think Bryce Young will probably get the jump on a few teams. He's a little bit more experienced, a little bit more seasoned of a quarterback coming into the NFL. You know, his size is definitely going to be a detriment. But, you know, I think the Panthers might be able to sneak up on a few teams. And round on the bottom, I'm sorry, Jay, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers finishing in fourth. I don't think it's going to be the best year for them. I mean, you lost Brady. He walked away in retirement. You bring in Baker Mayfield. He's battling out with Kyle Trask. You know, they announced that he will be the starting quarterback. But, you know, the last couple of times we've seen Baker, he just hasn't looked that good. I mean, there's a reason he was available. You know, he had that one bright spot out in L.A. when he beat the Raiders on that Thursday night when he first got there. And after that, you know, he hasn't been able to recapture that same magic that he found in Cleveland when he got the Browns their first playoff win in like 20 years or so. So I think, you know, Tampa Bay will round out the bottom of the NFC South, and they'll possibly be in contention to either get Drake May or Caleb Williams. We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, they might be playing for bigger things in the future.
Well, I guess we'll see on that. Lamar, we head to you, NFC South. What are your predictions, sir?
I'm similar. Okay, so first, I again, like I said, I have the Falcons winning the division. I think that because it is right now, like you said, one of the up-and-coming divisions in the league, I think the Falcons are going to be around either 8-9 or 9-8. And I think that mainly the reason is because a lot of those teams, you know, they're going to fight within each other. You know, when you have a division like that, often you see even the team at the top getting upset. It just happens. with the competition. I think underneath them, I have the Saints. I have the Saints around 7-10. Now, I think the Saints are one of those teams, like James says, they always keep it close, right? There's going to be some games where you feel like they have no business in, and they're going to be in contention for them. Will they win the game? That's going to be another story. But I think that they're going to surprise some people, kind of like what Darrell was saying, because they still have a sound defense, and if they can run the ball, it might even it out. And then third, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I also have their record at 7-10. I think that they're going to be surprising to some teams because they're kind of built like the Saints. They have a defense who's been around for a while, right? They know how to handle the top competition on offense, but they still have some offensive problems to figure out. And then lastly, I think the Carolina Panthers, I don't think they're going to do so well this year. And I think that their main problem is going to be protecting their new quarterback. We saw him take some hits in preseason. It got pretty scary, right? And that's only the preseason. So I feel like they're going to have to figure out, they got a whole bunch of new skill positions, a whole bunch of like bells and whistles, but you still got to figure out the foundation. And I think that they're going to do that. I have them either around 3 or 4 wins, and I think it's going to be rough for them. I could see them being the last winless team in the NFL this year.
Oh, man, it's tough. All right, let's head to our next one. We're heading to the NFC North. I know this division pretty well. But we head to the North on this next one. We got the Packers, the Bears, the Vikings, and the Lions. And fellas, I want to know, what do you think about this NFC North? It's going to be a very interesting division this year. For me, the only thing I will say about this division is that I think that it's going to be the closest division in football. Not the best division in football, the closest division in football. We'll start with LaMonte first. Where do you see things going in the NFC North?
All right. So like you said, this one can go a lot of different ways. This is how I see it. I look at the division at the end of last year, and I think about who was the most consistent and which team looked like that they were on the up and up the most. And I have to say, I think it was the Detroit Lions, right? They started off with like 1-6. They ended up coming alive because they finally figured out the defensive side of the ball. And everybody said all year long, if the Detroit Lions can play defense, man, will they be scary. They started to play defense. And it wasn't quite up to par, but you could tell that they made some changes, and they have a really bright coaching staff. So I think the Detroit Lions will edge it out. I think that they'll be around 10 wins. Next after that, I have the Minnesota Vikings. I think they take a step back. They won a lot of games where they were really close last year, but we know in the NFL sometimes that stands for not for long. Like you have to be able to dominate your competition on a weekly basis, and if you can't do that, you're going to run into some issues. And I think with the division getting stronger, I have the Vikings at around 9-8 or so. The next team I actually have is the Chicago Bears. I think the Chicago Bears have made a lot of moves, and sort of like I talked about with the Falcons this year, it's like they have a lot of bells and whistles, but we got to see how it works when they put that product on the field. I do like Fields and DJ Moore, the connection. They look like they had some nice explosive plays in preseason. Will they be able to protect them? And is the defense going to show up like they always have? Because the defense has been the bright spot of this team for years, but they haven't had the offense to go with it. So I do have the Bears around 8-9, and then I have the Packers at 7-10. And I think that the thing with the Packers is I don't know if they're going to have both sides of the ball working at the same time. I do believe in the Jordan Love era. I do believe in the Packers defense who still is nothing to play about. I just think that, they have a new regime, and it may take them just like any other team. It may take them a year or two to be able to get it together. Now, you ask me next year, I'll probably be giving you a different answer, but I think the Packers are going to take 1 year to get it together, and then I think they'll be back full steam next season.
James, we head to you next, sir. NFC North, what are your predictions?
So with the NFC North, definitely agree with you guys. It's going to be a close division this year. I actually think that the Minnesota Vikings, though, will repeat as champs of the North. I like what they have on paper. Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson. They just re-signed T.J. Hockenson today. He's in the fold for another 4 years. They still have Alexander Madison. They added another guy to the backfield. And then on the defensive side of the ball, They brought in Brian Flores. We know Brian Flores knows how to coach up defense. He had that Miami defense looking pretty scary by the time he was done in Miami. And now he gets to do it over again in New York, in Minnesota. So I definitely feel like with that, those pieces alone, Flores coming in to handle the defensive side of the ball, I could see the Vikings getting to about 10 to 11 wins to take that division. Now, in second place, I do think the Lions will come in second. They'll be on the outside looking in of a playoff berth, hovering somewhere between 8 and 9 wins. I think, they'll be competitive this season, but, the fact that they did so well last year means that they'll play a stronger strength of schedule this season. And so we'll really find out, what they're really made of once they have to start playing those tougher teams this year. And I think, they don't quite cut the mustard at this point. 9-8 wins. If anything, they might get a 7th seed in the playoffs, but I have them on the outside looking in. In third place, I agree with LaMonte there. I think the Bears get third, somewhere between 6 to 7 wins. But, we saw Justin Fields do a lot last year on the ground with his legs. Now you've added pieces from the throw to and DJ Moore. They added a few other guys in the draft, but they also found him what they hope to be his left tackle of the future, and Darrell Wright, the guy they took in the first round at the 10th spot. So, if they can solidify that, give him some protection, he can start to hit those down the field guys on those throws, and then he can also start to incorporate his legs more to kind of finish things off rather than just running for his life and looking like Bo Jackson back in Tecmo Bowl back in the day. But, I think, if they can figure that out, I think the Bears could be a solid third in the division. And I do have the Packers coming in fourth. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if, their record is around the same as the Bears and they obviously flip-flop. But, I kind of agree with LaMonte there. The Packers are going to have to refine themselves. We know that defense is solid, but it's going to be – will it click the same time as the offense will? Will Jordan Love be able to make some of those routine throws and plays that we saw Aaron Rodgers make for the past 20 years? Is he going to be able to at least somewhat step into the shoes? He doesn't quite have to fill them, but he's at least got to be able to hit those throws over the middle, hit Christian Watkins, hit a Romeo Doubs. I feel like they've given him enough tools. It's just going to be, do they have the chemistry to go ahead and put up numbers this season? So we'll definitely find out and see. I don't think it's quite there yet, so I do have them at 4.
Let's head to the NFC West. Now, the NFC West, a couple years ago, we definitely said, and I remember we had our preview show, us on here, it was like 6 of us at that time when we did our preview show, and we were talking raving about how great this division was. You had Kyler Murray, you had Stafford, I think Russell was on. Yeah, Russell was still there at the time, and then you had Garoppolo, and it was like, who's gonna finish where? That's completely changed, and that's just in a year and a half. Things have just really taken a left turn. So, fellas, we're going to start with you. James, I'll start with you. Who wins the NFC West?
All right, so I think this division is going to be tricky because of the top 2 teams. I believe it's going to be between San Francisco and Seattle. And when we look at both of those teams, San Francisco has the defense to stop almost anybody. But we got to see, is Nick Bosa going to be playing? I think he's still holding out for a new contract. I don't believe they've gotten that settled just yet. So, that's going to be a big loss for them on their defense. And Bosa, then not to mention you have Purdy coming back off the elbow surgery from the offseason. So, I think it'll be tough. And with that, I do think the Seahawks skate by and win the NFC East. I think Geno and the boys take it at about 10 wins or so. We've seen that, Geno Smith's had a resurgence in Seattle, having that stellar season last year. They already have DK Metcalf. They still have Tyler Lockett. They go out, they get Jackson Smith and Jigba to just add on to that offense. And he's going to be a guy where, he'll either eat in the slot or you can switch him out with Lockett. And, you can just throw bombs down the field on the outside. Not to mention you still have DK. Oh, and guess what? Seattle can still run the ball, whether it's Kenneth Walker. They added Zach Charbonnet. So Seattle will have a bevy of weapons at their disposal. And, Geno will probably have the best offense he's probably had since joining the league. And then when you look on the defense, they have a lot of young guys where last year, they were starting to make a name for themselves. Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant. So, I think the Seahawks can definitely win this division. Shout out Kobe. So, yeah, I got Seattle taking the NFC West. I do have the 49ers coming in second. If they do get Bosa back, if Purdy plays well coming off the elbow surgery, they probably could compete for first. But right now I have them in second. I think they'll definitely still make a playoff spot So maybe they even it out at 10 wins and, Seattle have the tiebreaker, or they're right there at 9 wins or so. But San Francisco will definitely be a tough play. They're nothing to sneeze. They're nothing to look over. So, everybody should definitely be careful about still playing the San Francisco 49ers. I think the Rams finishing third this year. It's not looking good. They just won the Super Bowl a couple seasons ago, and that roster looks drastically different. I mean, the defense is Aaron Donald, some bubble gum, and a couple paper clips. On offense, rough. We have what's left of Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp starting to get nicked up. Last year, their offensive line was atrocious. So I don't even know if they've gotten that figured out. And, McVay could be honestly looking at, man, if this is what I have to deal with going forward, maybe I should look elsewhere for other gainful employment. So, I think the Rams finishing third, and the Cardinals, we know they tanking. So, they might go 0-for. They're definitely trying to Caleb Williams sweep.
They're trying to draft me next year. That's the rate. They might bring me in at QB at this point.
They might sign us 3 tonight just to make sure.
Caleb Williams. It's like coming out of John Tyler University. Like, wait a minute. Like, John Tyler's not around anymore. Whoops, bright seat.
They're gonna have LaMonte in the slot. They're going to have you at tight end, and somehow I'm going to be the slot corner, and I don't know who I'm stopping, but I'm getting paid, though.
That's all, and that's all that counts, just as long as you get paid. Lamont, we had to use.
All I wanted to tell you is if they are going to make that move and sign me, they better have my guaranteed money. I know that.
Facts. That's all I care about. Guaranteed pay. Guaranteed pay. Lamont, we had to use on the NFC West.
All right, so straight up. Mine is similar to James. I just have the top flipped around. So I got the 49ers coming in first. I just think with the experience and Shanahan having a full, off season with both McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Ayuk, and having those guys, having those weapons, to be able to strategically game plan for a whole off season is going to be dangerous. I don't think people realize how dangerous it's going to be because the guys already, you got to give him his props, in terms of scheme. And I think that with those weapons, he can do some damage. So I have the 49ers at 11-6. I do think the Seahawks will come in second. Again, I thought that, by the first question we had tonight, you see that, they're going to be my most surprising team. So I had them at 10-7. The Rams I have in third. I feel like they're the team that I'm most unsure about, right? Because just like James said, they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Yes, the roster has changed, but I feel like they still have the same people as leaders, right? You still have an Aaron Donald, you still have a McVay, right? And it's the same mojo for them. I just think that they've just been challenged in the last few years, and whether or not they're going to be the best Rams, or they're going to be back on the saddle, or they're going to take more steps back, it just remains to be seen. But I do have them in third, but I have them at a winning record. I think, they'll figure it out, but I think it'll be a little too late. I see them 9-8 on the outside of the playoffs looking in. And then fourth, of course, you got Arizona, the tank story. How far are they willing to take it? I do think that, Kyler Murray is going to try to stick it to them a little bit. I think that he'll manage to win some games. When he does get back, he'll manage to win some games on his own. But I think that they'll be 6-11. I think that they're not the team that they were when he got there, right? Everybody bought into them. Everybody was like, "Oh, well, we believe in him. We think that this team is going somewhere." That's not the talk of the town anymore. So I believe that they're about 5 or 6 wins.
That's interesting because I definitely haven't won in one. I don't even think Kyler Murray is going to play this year.
I do think they hold him out.
I think they hold him out. I think what's going to happen. Personally, I think they're going to try to hold him out and then try to help facilitate a trade to where he wants to go.
Yeah, I think it's obvious. He's gonna. Yeah. I think for him, it's going to be in him and his camp's best interest to at least come out and show the next person. Because remember, you still gotta hold down your future, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
NFL, we know if we don't see you, we don't see you.
Right. He better not win those games though. He better not win those games. I'm telling you right now.
It's going to be the problem. To me.
The saving grace is they got the Texans first rounder too.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. And so they
could end up with the top 2
They're looking at the top 2 picks, man. Like it's right there. All right. We head to the last division in the NFC, and that is the NFC East. Oh, man. The East is a doozy. Last year we got the defending NFC champions coming out of here in the Philadelphia Eagles. You got a team in Dallas who every year you're like, man, this could be the year. Even in this year, you still had the high hopes of what Dallas could do. You got the Giants who coming off of a big year last year, making the playoffs and getting the playoff win for the first time in a couple of years. And then you have the Commanders who have new ownership and are feeling bright and shiny inside, just like a brand new car, with Magic Johnson and Josh Harris leading the way. And so, LaMonte, we start with you and the NFC East. What are your predictions on the NFC East? Who do you have going? I'm not going who you have going, but who do you have winning that bad boy? And what do you think it looks like in the end?
All right. I think as much as we all love to mess with the Dallas Desperados,
I love it.
I do think that they will be the NFC East champion this year. And that's strictly because they have one of the honestly, they have one of the best defenses in football. I just got to keep it 100. I believe they carry through. I believe that just like any other year for them, their problems will start in December. 13-4. I got the Cowboys. I think the Eagles 12-5. I think the Eagles come in. I think the only reason why they take a step back is because of I think they started off a lot of games hot last year, right? Like they just jumped out on teams. Now when they're neck and neck, or when they actually have to be able to sustain a battle through the whole game, I don't know if it's going to end up on their side all the time, and that's just the NFL way, right? I just think that a lot of things went their way last year, but I still have them at 12-5 and being a great team. They lost a few pieces on defense, but that remains to be seen. And third, I have the New York Giants. I think the Giants, like Darrell said, they take a step back. I do see them being around that 500 area, either 8 games, 9 games, something like that. I do have them most likely missing the playoffs. And I think last, I do have the Washington Commanders, but just a game back from the Giants. If they're 9-8, and they're 8-9, right? I think that their defense also carries them. When they play to the potential, they are dangerous because they can make stops. I do think it may take them some time to get that offense together. They have some pieces. They can run the ball. They got receivers. We're not sure on quarterback yet. We'll see, but I have the Commanders rounding it out at probably around 7 and maybe 7-9. I'll say 7-9-1. They'll split with the Giants one time.
Okay,
they love to do that.
That's true. That's true. Except for last year when they decided to tie and miss out on the play, but that's another story for another day. That's a story for another day. James, what are you looking at in the NFC East?
Okay, so I like what LT said. Love his assessment, but for me personally, cheesesteaks and pit bulls for everybody, because I got the Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East again. Now, this is going to be the toughest division in the NFC this year. It always usually is. All these teams play each other tough, and they beat up on a lot of teams around the league. But I think the Philadelphia Eagles will retain their spot as NFC East champs. I know they lost both coordinators on each side of the ball, but you know what? The guys that make the plays are still there, and the head man calling all the shots is still there. They retooled on the defensive side, adding on to the bodies they already had. Like I said, they're Georgia Junior at this point. They went in, they added a Jalen Carter who has been dominant looking in both training camp and the preseason so far. He's been dominant. They add that to a Fletcher Cox, a Jordan Davis, a Brandon Graham. Then you go in, you add on a Nolan Smith to the rest of your pass rushers. And then even in the fourth, they picked up Keely Ringo late. I think he will definitely rotate in somewhere on the back end of their secondary. So the Eagles are still stacked on defense. And then we go to the offense. You got Jalen Hurts. He's been paid. If we know anything about Jalen Hurts, he's a guy who's trying to earn his keep day in and day out. Love the man, love his work ethic. I think he'll definitely still be on top of his game. I think, the fact that they've added a DeAndre Swift that'll help him out in the running game. They still have A.J. Brown. You still have Devontae Smith. You got Quez Watkins. You have Kenneth Gainwell. They have pieces everywhere. And then they still have the most unstoppable play in short yardage situations. That rugby scrum, that's still illegal. That's still allowed. That's still legal. That's still allowed. So look for them to implement that again. So Philadelphia Eagles, I think they definitely take the NFC East. And I think a lot of it is due in part that Jalen Hurts really doesn't throw to the other team like the guys that'll be in second place, the Dallas Cowboys. I think Dallas definitely takes second. A lot of it will be probably because of the fact they will have an awesome defense. We'll just need to see, will that offense keep up with them this year? Last year we definitely know that Dak led the league in interceptions. So we'll have to see, can he control that a little bit more? Can he reduce the turnovers? Can he add on to the touchdown count? And then you got to think, he's also in a prove-it year. Both him and Mike McCarthy, they're on the clock. They're on the hot seat. They have to get it done this season, or Jerry might start to look in other directions. They've already traded for Trey Lance. Don't know what they're going to do with that one. But, clearly Jerry's thinking something long-term in case these two aren't the answer for him. So I think they finish in second this year. They're probably the 5th seed in the NFC's playoff picture. Maybe they make some noise. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I'm in third. I think the New York Giants take the 3rd spot in the division. They had an awesome year last year, made the playoffs, beat the Vikings. So, I think they really overachieved last season. I think we do see them reel back a little bit. I'm going to have them around 8-9 wins. Me personally, I think they invested long-term in the wrong guy. It should have been Saquon Barkley, not Daniel Jones, but we'll have to wait and see. I do like the fact they added Jalen Hyatt, deep threat. Guy's phenomenal. Had some spots here and there in the preseason. So, I like what they did there. I think they take 3rd. Then we get to the Commanders. I have the Commanders in 4th. I think it's going to be a rough start. I could see the Commanders possibly getting out to a 1-2 win start. And by week 6, Ron Rivera is unfortunately out of there because they're under new management now. They got new ownership. And I think we'll finally see Eric Bieniemy get his shot to be a head coach. And in his shot at being a head coach, I think he turns it around a little bit. He takes those 2 wins they already had. He takes that offense. He does his magic with Sam Howell. He somehow gets them to 7, maybe 8 wins to finish out the year. And he possibly gets a long-term spot as the Washington Commanders head coach. So, that's my prediction for Washington. They'll finish 4th. They'll lose a coach, but they'll gain a head coach.
They'll finish 4th. They'll lose a coach, but they'll gain. I like that. All right, everybody. That's it. Episode 55 of Legacy on Fire, the NFC preview. Once again, we'd like to thank our Bowie TV audience for joining us. Hope that you enjoyed the show. We got more to come here from the LegacyMaker Sports Network here on Bowie Television. So we truly, truly appreciate that opportunity and just can't wait to bring you more. James, is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Man, glad to be back. Can't wait to get back to do the next one. Always, make sure everybody out there watching, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and check out everything we got here at the LegacyMaker Sports Network.
All right. LaMonte, anything you want to say before we go?
Just ditto to what you said. Appreciate all of the Bowie TV watchers and followers. We appreciate all of our, followers on the LegacyMaker Sports Network. It's a busy season for us, so we appreciate y'all in advance for everything we got going on, for the love and support that all of y'all show us. So much love.
All right. And once again, thank you all, everybody. We truly appreciate it. This has been episode 55 of Legacy on Fire. We'll be back for Legacy on Fire, episode 56 AFC preview next week. We got a lot coming down the road, y'all. I'm telling you. So enjoy. Thank you once again. And we will see you all next time.